boys and girls, students of Buddhist Sunday School, Dhamma classes, parents, grandparents, and teachers of Dhamma classes at Buddhist Sunday School. Good morning. May you all be well and peaceful. Now, today we are going to do a lesson titled Life Lessons for Students from Funny Jokes. Now, we are going to have a number of funny jokes, and then we will see what sort of Dhamma lessons or life lessons that we can learn from each joke. In this way, you will learn important life or moral lessons, right? Now, as usual, we will have the PowerPoint and you go over each of the jokes. Now, I think there is no need to see my photo. So let me stop the video. Okay, so now let us launch the PowerPoint. See the first slide that shows two sets of animated images. The first set shows, right, the smiley cartoon images all laughing because of the jokes. And then the other set shows the thinking, reflecting on the life lessons, right? Now here is another of the introductory slides, jokes and life lessons for students. So important thing, what we can learn from the life lessons. The first one, a little girl was talking to her teacher about whales. Now whales, live in the oceans, and the whale is the largest mammal. It's a mammal and not a fish. So the teacher said it was physically impossible for a whale to swallow a human because its throat was very small. Then the little girl, right, stated that Jonah was swallowed by a whale. Actually, Jonah is that character in the Bible, and according to the story in the Bible, so Jonah, supposed to be a holy person, was swallowed by this whale. So of course, the little girl had read the story in the Bible. So the teacher was getting a bit annoyed already that the girl sort of did not believe her. So the teacher said many times, reiterated that a whale could not swallow a human. The little girl, you know what she said? She said, when I get to heaven, I will ask Jonah, right? Because the little girl believes that this Jonah, a very good person, go to heaven. So next time when I go to heaven, I will ask Jonah whether he was swallowed by the whale. The teacher was also happy. The teacher asked, what if Jonah went to hell? Then the little girl immediately replied, then you ask him. Oh, that means the teacher also will go to hell. So the little girl was not so polite in the way, isn't it? So the life lesson is we must be polite and not insult others with rude speech, right? In other words, she's saying that the teacher would also go to hell, right? So that is this life lesson, politeness and not using words that can cause another person to be angry or insulted, rude speech. The second one, now a little kindergarten girl is saying her prayers before going to bed. Christians do that. It's good practice, right? Buddhists also should maybe do some meditation, metta bhavana before going to bed. So you know what she prayed for? She said, oh God, please make Teluk Intan the capital of Malaysia. The mother heard the little kindergarten girl praying in such a way. So she said, honey, why are you praying in this strange way? Then the little girl said, for my test this morning, I wrote the word Intan as the capital of Malaysia. So then she realized a mistake later on. Maybe she checked that it should be Kuala Lumpur, isn't it? So, she prayed to God to make a Intan. Of course, this is a joke. But of course, you don't get things changed and so on by praying one, all right? So, important thing is to work hard, to be good, right? So Buddhists say that you have to take charge of your own future or destiny. And it's not by just praying every time, pray for this, pray for that. But if you are lazy and you don't work hard, right? And your mind is not good, your character not good, then things won't happen in a good way for you, isn't it? So the lesson, God helps those who help themselves. This is a problem, I think, right? And in Christianity also you have that. So you cannot just pray to God when you are not hardworking and get the right answer in your test, isn't it? So for success, you must be diligent. That means be industrious, to be hardworking. Let me go to the next one. Mr. Bo Tao Sin. If you know Hokkien, this is a pun. Bo Tao Sin means absent-minded, lack of mindfulness. Anyway, you can say that his name is Bo Tao Sin. So Bo Tao Sin was asked by his doctor to stick out his tongue and say ah. Maybe the doctor wanted to examine from the tongue what sort of sickness he might be having, you see. So when the doctor looked at his tongue, he commented, well, it looks okay, but why the postage stamp? The doctor found a stamp, right, stuck at the tongue, right? Then Mr. Bo exclaimed, oh, so that's where I left the stamp. So from here you can see, when a person wants to post a letter, he has to stick a stamp on the envelope top, isn't it? So, and some people, which is not very good, are not hygienic, they will just lick the stamp to make the stamp moist or wet a bit, then stick it. So he did that probably, and the stamp got stuck in the tongue already. He forgot there was a stamp already. Probably he used another stamp, and this time probably use water or something like that. But anyway, the stamp was there, and he forgot about it completely. Absent-minded, you see. So the life lesson is, it is very important for us to be mindful, to remember things. You have to practice mindfulness, right? To be always attentive to what you are doing, to know, to be aware of all the things you are doing, right? That is very important. Now, nowadays, we have even very young people, very forgetful, they forget to bring the book, they forget to do the homework, they forget to carry out certain tasks asked by the teacher. That is not good. A student who lacks this mindfulness, very forgetful, will not do well, not only in examinations and tests, but also in many other things. So we must always train to be attentive, pay attention to all things. So that is this very important lesson that we have to learn. All right. Now, Agong. Agong is a pun. So in Hokkien, you say you agong. Agong means stupid, right? So he told his friend Chua. Chua actually in Hokkien, it means very proud, arrogant, So you know what he said to his friend? My father left me $1 million upon his death. Wow, he was very, very proud, right? I don't know whether it was true or not, but anyway, he was actually trying to boast. So Achua, not too happy at his friends boasting, So you know what he replied? That's nothing. When my father died, he left the earth. So actually you have to know some English. So the usual meaning, all right, of leaving the earth is to say that you have died already lah. All right, you have maybe gone on to either heaven or another place already. You have left the earth lah. But here he's thinking, oh, Ah Chua's father left him $1 million. My father left the whole earth for me. In other words, much more. So that is boasting. So the lesson we can learn from here is pride goes before a fall. Now that is an English proverb. Now you know, proud people will be likely to make mistakes, right? They're so proud of themselves. They don't ask. They are very egoistic. They don't follow instructions but want to do things on their own. So all these due to maybe pride or ego lah. Then you will make mistakes, right? You will, do some stupid things, right? And then there will be suffering lah. So the important point is do not brag or boast. Do not be proud. Nobody likes a person who is proud, isn't it? Who likes to boast. You must be humble. To practice humility. That means to be humble is a very praiseworthy thing. Humility is a great virtue. So this tells us not to boast, not to brag. Brag is also like pang tua power, boasting. So remember that, all right? So we learn this important lesson about pride. Now we go on to this. The children were lying up in the cafeteria. That's the canteen, right? Of a primary school for lunch. So canteen break, recess, you call it in school, isn't it? At the head of the table, now, so I think this is in a country in the West. So you have a table, a long table. So a lot of food there. But at one end, at the head of the table, was a large pile of apples, right? Apples. So the teacher made a note and posted on the apple tray that contains the apples. Take only one. God is watching. Probably they are of the Christian religion. So take only one. That means you take only one apple. That means telling you not to be too greedy, right? And take 2 or 3. But then nobody would always stand there to check, you see. Teacher also very busy and so many children all lining up to take. So the teacher put there, don't be dishonest. Take one only. God is always watching what you do. So then at the other end of the table, so you go, you line up and then you go to the other end, there was a large pile of chocolate chip cookies, some sort of biscuits, chocolate biscuits. And one of the children, had written a note there, take all you want. God is watching the apples. So you see, you're thinking, God is watching the apples there, why you worry? Right now you take more take all that you want. So this is a joke, but here we see that some children are not honest. They are greedy, and that is not good, isn't it? So we learn this important thing about honesty. You must be honest. You must not be greedy. If you are dishonest and you are greedy, in time to come, many people will know about this and you will not be liked by other people, right? And we know that we must always practice good morality to have good moral conduct. I think in Buddhism, you must observe the precepts, the 5 precepts. So this thing is important, honesty, and then not to be greedy. So that is this thing. Now you might be wondering, what is this ugly looking woman in this animation of a animated image lah, they call it. Now let's see. Yesterday, Helen slapped the guy in the art gallery. No, in KL also you have, and in overseas countries, you have art gallery, something like a museum. You have beautiful art pieces being shown for people to go there to have a look and appreciate. So Helen was visiting the art gallery lah, a lot of paintings and photos probably there. So there was this guy, probably a tourist guy, or maybe the guy in the art gallery. There are people there to explain to you that is the guide lah in the art gallery. So this Helen is a woman lah, not a child, right? So when she asked the guide, right, how much is that horrible looking picture? She said, she pointed at what she thought was a picture, a painting. She said, how much does that cost? You know, they do sell these art pieces in the art gallery. You know, some are very expensive. So how much is that horrible looking picture? Then you know what the guy replied? It isn't a picture. It's a mirror. Wow, this is a joke, but then you see, you know what it implies. You see, you're actually looking at yourself. It's not a painting. So which means that she is horrible looking. That's a mirror, isn't it? Right? So it's very, very insulting, isn't it? So she got very, very angry already, or probably gave the guy a good scolding. Of course, this is a joke, but from here we learn very important thing. You must be careful of your speech. Think before you speak. Your words can cause a person to be angry, isn't it? You say the words like this, right? In other words, to basically tell a person, tell this lady Helen, you are very horrible looking, you are very ugly, you know. But you know, you're looking at the mirror, you're asking about how much that costs, right? So very important point, to practice good speech. And in Buddhism, you have this speech, right speech. Right speech, that means to speak the truth, right? Not to lie. And then not to slander, that means to say bad things about other people. That is also not good, right? And the third one is not to use harsh speech. That means speech or words, right, that can hurt another person's feeling. In this case, is using harsh speech, terrible words that can hurt another person's feelings and so on. Of course, you don't tell your friend or your classmate, hey, you're very, very ugly, isn't it? You don't do that. That's being very rude also. So, and then the fourth one is no gossip, just talking about this aimlessly, useless talk, waste your time, gossip about other people. So in Buddhism, you have these 4 parts pertaining to the right speech. So it's very important, isn't it? Our speech. Now we come to this one. Yesterday, Pisces. Now, you know what is Pisces? Pisces in Hokkien, it means naughty, mischievous, a bad little boy, but actually is naughty. That is the best translation. So this teenage boy probably he could be in secondary already, right? Maybe Form 2, Form 3, right? So this teenage boy spilled a whole bottle of ink, on the new expensive carpet in his house. So probably he wanted to use the ink to refill his pen. Those days, students, we all also use this sort of thing, not like ballpoints now. We use the writing pens, fountain pens, we call them. And after some time, you have to refill with the ink, right? So this boy was carrying a whole bottle of ink. He wanted to go to a place to fill it. And then he probably walked past a very new, expensive carpet in the house. So he dropped the bottle of ink, And imagine the ink spill onto the new expensive carpet lah. So when his mother saw this, the mother of course was not happy lah. The mother reprimanded him on his carelessness. The meaning of reprimand is to scold actually, to scold, admonish lah, giving like a warning lah about his carelessness. That's the meaning of reprimand. A sort of a scolding with a warning or admonish that we call because of the carelessness. So when his mother scolded him and warned him about his carelessness, you know what he said? He got the cheek, right? He got the guts, right? He was not afraid. He just told the mother this, Mother, you shouldn't be so upset. The bottle of ink wouldn't cost a lot. Don't be so miserly. Don't be so miserly. That means don't be a miser. Don't be stingy. Just a bottle of ink, also so upset. But actually, you know very well, it's not the ink, it's an expensive carpet, right? Just newly bought, and now with the ink, very difficult to remove, isn't it? So, the moral lesson is this, that we must not be ill-mannered. Ill-mannered means rude, right? Impolite. So, trying to be smart and say certain words, right, that show that you are very, very ill-mannered. You are of bad manners, a person of bad manners, right? Sometimes we make mistakes. Maybe this was an accident. So when we make mistakes, don't try to give all sorts of excuses. The first thing we have to do is, I'm very sorry I made that mistake. It was an accident, and you apologize sincerely. Then you have to make a resolution. Say, next time I have to be more careful, and I must not make the same mistake again. That is the way lah. Rather than say, it's because like this lah, like that lah. That's why this happened. All this giving all the excuses, right? So not so good, right? Of course, you apologize, then you could explain, like you say, very sorry, I mistook this point, or I did not see the thing clearly, my eyesight not so good. But you have to apologize first, right? Say that, oh, very, very sorry, I made that mistake. Then maybe you want to explain, you can explain in a very polite and humble manner. Don't try to justify or try to make all sorts of excuses. So that is this. Now you see. When the teacher asked Ah Kow, what is your father? What he answered? My father is a man. That's a really stupid answer, isn't it? Your father could not have been a woman, isn't it? Right? So, actually, in English, if you are asked by the teacher, what is your father? It actually means, what is your father's occupation? What does he do for a living? What is his job lah? So you actually should reply, my father is a teacher, my father is a carpenter, my father is a doctor. But this person, this student, right? Maybe he was trying to play the fool, right? Or another thing is, he really did not understand. He thought that the meaning, what is your father? I mean, my father is a man. It could not be an animal. I don't know. Maybe he was ignorant. Anyway, right? Then the teacher asked him the next question. How did you sleep last night? You know what he answered? As usual, lying down. Of course, usually when we sleep, we lie down on the bed, isn't it? So he probably did not understand this question, right? So how did you sleep last night? We answer this, oh, I slept very well. I was tired, so I had a very good sound sleep. That would be an intelligent answer, isn't it? Oh, thank you. I slept very well. But he said, as usual, lying down on the bed. So this actually, let's say, if that person had not been attentive in class, had not learned many things, so he will remain ignorant of many things. So one who has not learned well will not be able to answer questions correctly or intelligently. isn't it? So it's important to pay attention. Now, the other thing is, if let us say that this Ah Kow, right? Oh, there's a mistake. It should be not Ai Khoon already. Oh, sorry, this another person, you know. And the teacher asked Ah Kow, what is your father? He answered, my father is a man. And the other one, Ai Khoon. The other one, Ai Khoon means sleepy and always wants to sleep. How did you sleep last night? He answered, as usual, lying down. So both of them actually were either ignorant or trying to play the fool, right? Both also not good behavior, isn't it? Not proper way of speaking in answering the questions. Either you say, I can't remember how I slept or something like that. You say lying down. Of course, the teacher knows when you sleep, you lie down, isn't it? Right? So anyway, it's correct. Two silly students, ignorant. Now, the introduction for this joke is, these days, it's very difficult to find a true friend. Very, very true. Right? To find a good, true friend is not easy. Right? So you have to value all your good friends with good qualities. So this person says, my classmate Eddy told me, right? When you need a friend, text me. Probably he's referring to the handphone. So right, when you need me, maybe for certain reasons, you send me SMS, right? Text me. When you need a laugh, right? You want to have a joke, you call me. Then I can maybe crack the joke, right, over the phone for you, or I send you a joke, right? But you will need money, I'm not reachable, right? Now, he's trying to say that if you want to maybe borrow some money because the person is having difficulty, now you don't phone me, right? I won't answer the call, or you can say it's definitely no already, the answer. That means not reachable, cannot be reached. This sort of friend, not helpful, right? It's not really a true friend, isn't it? So that's why there's a saying that a friend in need is a friend indeed. Good friends will always come to your help when you need the help, isn't it? That is a good friend, willing to help, right? To offer some advice or counseling. That is a good friend. That's why you have that important English proverb. A friend in need is a friend indeed. When you find your friend really in need, needs help, then you're always there and always very helpful. So you can see, not easy to find a good true friend. So when you want to make friends with others, find friends, make sure you find friends who have good qualities. In the Buddhist scriptures, the Buddha said, don't associate with fools. No, these fools will lead you astray and cause you to do all the wrong things. Go to the cyber cafe and play all those games, and then waste your time, and then some gamble even, and then your terrible friends introduce you to smoking, all those things. Make sure you don't associate with this sort of people, foolish people. So you must make sure your friends have good qualities, then good friendship. So what are the good qualities? Good friend is helpful, is kind, is honest, he can be trusted or trustworthy, and is morally upright. That means he's a person of good morality. He won't do the immoral or bad things. Like as I said, in the Buddhist religion, we have keeping 5 precepts, isn't it? Not to kill, not to steal, not to have sexual misconduct, not to lie, and not to take intoxicants or drinks that can make you drunk, or not to take drugs, so you can say. So this is also a very good life lesson about friendship, right? There was once a conversation between two ladies. Two ladies were talking to each other. You know what the first lady said? My son is a marvelous doctor. You absolutely must go and see him. The second lady said, but there's nothing wrong with me. And then the first lady said, oh, he's such an outstanding doctor, brilliant doctor lah. He's such an outstanding doctor that even though you have nothing wrong, he'll find something wrong with you. Wow, this sort of doctors, the person is not sick, no, but he will find something actually not true one. Basically, is actually telling us that this sort of doctor is not really trustworthy, unethical, wants money only, right? So you say, oh, now you have this sickness, no, I have to give you this medicine so you can earn money, isn't it? Right? Where the actual thing is, if you find there's nothing wrong, then of course there's no need. There's no need to see a doctor, isn't it? And you're not sick, isn't it? All right, but you say that the doctor will find something wrong with you. So you have to be careful. The life lesson we learn from here. There are people who are dishonest, unethical. They don't have the good moral principles. And that's because they are money-minded. They deceive and cheat people for their own personal gain. Actually, it's not only in one profession. All types of professions, all types of people, this can happen. Which means that you have good, honest people. You have also dishonest, right? Irresponsible, not trustworthy. So be careful. Nowadays, we have a lot of con men, isn't it? Right? Out to cheat, they lie, right? They're motivated by money. And this includes also professional people like lawyers or doctors or accountants who are not ethical. That means they don't follow proper moral principles or ethical principles, and then they cheat and then cause accidents to happen, right? Cause people to suffer. So this is something wrong, right? You don't have the proper moral values. And when you do such a thing, there's a price to pay at the end. You generate what we call bad karma, right? So something not good will happen to you, if not in this life. Then when you are reborn later on after you pass away, then you will be reborn in a woeful or unhappy suffering state. Because right after a person passes away, he will be reborn again, either into very good realms or states or into suffering states like hell, ghosts, animals, isn't it? So that is what we have in the Dhamma. So it's a very important thing also, to be honest, trustworthy, ethical. Mr. Jones is not only greedy, but he's also shameless, There's no shame one, You know what? You see, like, he has the habit of taking items from his hotel room that he's not supposed to, So he goes to the hotel. So when he checks out, wow, he takes things which are not supposed to take, like expensive towels, or maybe, a blanket, all this important thing. Of course, you can take certain things, like maybe the little soap bar, or maybe some souvenir pants. You will know, This fella takes things he's not supposed to take. Actually, they're stealing already, being dishonest. One day he will regret this, and sometimes he can be found out, then and get caught. Very embarrassing. But he's not afraid, greedy, right? And has no shame. So, this fella, Mr. Jones, this fella is telling the joke. He once told me that he has changed his name to Hilton. He said, now you call me Hilton because now I have a large towel, also the name Hilton. I'm using this at home. Actually, that's the towel he stole. He took from the hotel Hilton that he has stayed before, no? So now using at home Hilton, so that's my name now. So they say, oh, this towel belongs to Hilton, belongs to him. So this is a wrong action due to greed, right? And it's also shameless, not even fearful. So you find very important point. People who are shameless, no shame at all in doing something that is morally wrong. And then not fearful, you're not afraid, we must have this shame and fear of doing wrong. If you don't have that, then you'll be more likely to do things which are morally wrong. And then you know that will have a bad consequence later on, isn't it? You will pay a price one day, as I said just now, right? Either you will be suffering towards a later part in your life or next life, you will suffer for its action. So important thing is be honest, do not be greedy. So in time to come when people find out, so imagine what people will think of you. People will spread the word around, your reputation is bad. And now this is happening all over. You can see, even people who are so-called VIPs, who have titles and so on. Some also are greedy, not honest. These are the people who you cannot respect, really, isn't it? You respect even the hawker, very honest, earns a living very honestly. So I respect this well more than maybe a dato or a dato sri who is being charged in court for corruption, isn't it? So make sure you don't have all these terrible habits acquired when you are young. It's very important. When we are young, we must learn all the good things, moral conduct, the good ethics, so that later on in life, you'll be also a good person, well respected, and good things will happen to you. But once you pick up all those bad habits, wrong things, and then it's inside you already. So then later on when you grow up also, you have these terrible things, not being honest, likes to lie, smoking also. From young they pick up, so addiction. So you become addicted to it, and when you are older, you also smoke, isn't it? Or drinking, gambling. All these are bad habits that will cause you to suffer later on. They will tarnish your reputation. They will spoil your name, right? So this one is very, very important. But people nowadays don't pay much attention. Students nowadays, they no doubt do moral education, but they don't practice. You see, they do the wrong things. They study this to get an A, but they are not morally upright, right? They cheat. I taught pendidikan moral for 1 or 2 years in school before. Imagine I caught a few students during the moral education test, and these ones were copying, not honest, copying to get higher marks. And that is for moral education. What's the use? So, instead of being morally upright, they are doing all those wrong things. So I have to, of course, punish them in the proper way to teach them why it's wrong and so on. Of course, the papers, sometimes you see it's very, very bad. You give a 0 or you minus many, many marks. Anyway, so this is a very, very important moral lesson, right? Now, a drunken man, mabuk lah, right, can do really stupid things. We know that, isn't it? Now, this person, his name is Mr. Mabuk lah. So one day, maybe he was in the bar like this. You could see the animated image. So he was drinking the hard liquor until he was intoxicated, or what we say, mabuk, drunk. And then he started to drive his car back, right? To drive the car back to his home garage. You put the car there in the garage, isn't it? Probably it's quite well to do, a big house. There's a garage, a special place where you can keep the car in. So then, when he got the garage door open, he looked inside, he blinked, he blinked. Wow, my car disappeared already. So you know what he did? He turned his car, actually he's driving the car, but it's mabuk, isn't it? So he drove the car to the police station. And then he gaps. Now gaps means to say in a panting manner because he was very maybe breathing heavily already. So he gaps like wanting breath, that panting . because he was either very shocked already or surprised, and then he was, having the negative emotion, so his breathing was not smooth. So he gasped and he said, "Sergeant, my car's been stolen." Imagine, actually he was driving his own car, isn't it? Then why is he behaving like this? Mabo. That's why his name is Mr. Mabo. So you see, when a person drinks and gets drunk, intoxicated, he can do very, very stupid things and can do wrong things also. You see, a person who is drunk, he can lie, right? He can, do foolish things like taking off his clothes, right? And he can even kill, or he can fight with people, And then of some husbands who drink, liquor, right? Toddy lah, or maybe samsula, all types of intoxicating drinks. And then go back to the family, wall up, that means would beat the wife, beat the children. So terrible things can come out of drinking. And not only that, the drinking can harm you in terms of the body, physiologically lah. You can, harm your heart, your lungs, your brain, your liver, your kidneys. So later on, especially the liver, people who drink a lot, later on may get cancer of the liver, so horses. So that's why we have this precept in the five precepts. Do not refrain from taking intoxicating drinks. And of course, now we can also include the drugs, which are also very, very dangerous, isn't it? So beware of all these things. So it's a joke, but then the important moral lesson is there. Beware of the dangers of intoxicants. Drinking liquor, hard drinks, minuman arak lah, right? Or taking drugs is very harmful to both the body and the mind. It affects your mind because you lose your mindfulness, right? You do stupid things and so on. So always getting intoxicated. So you imagine that is breaking the precept. It says not good karma. It doesn't have good karma, bad karma. So in bad karma, then it can lead the person to be reborn into a harmful, or rather what you call miserable state lah, suffering state lah, like animal, for example, right? Isn't it? So it can affect the mind. So make sure you keep this precept very well. Do not take intoxicating drinks. And this actually starts from young. Even secondary students, some already get into the habit already, right? So they have to know that it is not good and it is incorrect. Incorrect moral behavior lah. Now let's look at this one. Some people try to bluff their way, that means to actually lie, right? Their way through to bluff their way through in their jobs, right? So a tourist guide at a museum, this museum shows various things, maybe some of the specimens from his from the past, historical things put there. Sometimes I might be the things belonging to famous kings or presidents, and then various things I think you have seen, like in the museum, in our country museum, the Gara, and then you have beautiful, very big museums in cities like maybe New York, London, and so on. And now in Italy also you have very many museums. So the tourist guide was bringing a group of tourists around, and then they came upon the skull. You know what is a skull? Now this is the image, animated image of a skull, right? So when the person passes away, all the bones will remain. Eventually, this also will go off into ashes only, but it will sustain for a long time. The skull, right, is the head part, only left with the bones and the skull. And then, he was trying to explain, don't know whether it was true or not. He like to bluff. He told us that it belonged to the Emperor Nero. Wow, Emperor Nero was once the emperor of the Roman Empire. And he didn't have a good reputation, right? He did things which were not morally good also. and cause suffering to people also. So he was telling her, don't know whether true or not. But anyway, so according to this joke, when I asked him about the smaller skull, there was another skull, not as large as the one that he was explaining to as the Emperor Nero's skull, according to him. So he said, what about that? Now imagine this boy asked him, what about this smaller skull beside it? Belong to whom? He said, oh, that is the skull of Nero, of Emperor Nero when he was a young man. When he was very young, the skull smaller. Wow, that is a stupid, that's sheer bluffing, isn't it? Right? Of course, how can you have two skulls, isn't it? So he was a skull, another person says, this is a joke, but you see, the message is this: lying, cheating, deceiving. And that is what is happening in the world today. People in business or doing sales, they lie, they deceive, they cheat because they want more money. Sooner or later, it will be found out. And then you will lose the trust of others. And of course, you are breaking a moral precept of lying, cheating. That's why you see, right? The papers have so many cases now, con men and so on. And this is morally wrong. There's a price to pay. You're breaking a precept. So it's just a humor piece, a joke. But the important thing is to learn the moral lesson. Some patients can be very dumb. That means very stupid, foolish. When the doctor told a patient, this was a patient that came to see the doctor, so he complained about some pain in his left leg, right? So the doctor had to examine, isn't it? All right. So when the doctor told the patient after examining him that his left leg was due to old age, right? When you are aging, certain things will happen. Your legs may have problem. You might have problem walking. Your eyesight not so good. Your hearing not so good. That's quite natural when we age, isn't it? So he said, oh, your doctor said your left pain that you have is actually due to aging, right? And this was not so happy. You know what he said? Doctor, you are wrong. My right leg is of the same age as my left leg, but it's perfectly all right. Why my right leg not painful? My left leg pain, both also same age, but so what sort of reason you are giving? They're so ignorant. They don't know about medical knowledge. So those who are ignorant can make fools of themselves through what they utter. Right? Sometimes in public they say certain things. People laugh at them, isn't it? Right? Because they are ignorant. So from here we learn how important it is to equip ourselves with knowledge. So when in school, you have to study properly, pay good attention, and then get good education, everything. Then you'll be knowledgeable and you will go on in life smoothly and then won't do stupid things or say stupid things, isn't it? So that's an important lesson. Now we know why education is so very important, the good type of education. Now, let's look at this. It's terrible when one is not attentive. Yesterday, Mrs. Mutu said, right? That means that Mrs. Mutu told maybe her friends or something. He said, when my husband, who is this year 49 years old, was reading the newspaper, I asked him, darling, do you remember 25 years ago, you asked me to marry you? And you know what my husband replied? He said, yes. And did you marry me? So you see, of course, this image shows that the husband in the toilet, but not necessarily he could be in the hall, and the wife maybe in the kitchen, and the husband was reading the newspaper in the hall, sitting on the sofa, sad, right? So the wife just shouted very nearby only, the kitchen and the hall. He said, you remember or not? 25 years ago, you were quoting me and you asked me to marry you. The time we were pak thong quoting all right? And the husband, he was actually not paying attention, I mean, didn't think like he was doing the reading of the paper. Actually, if he's attentive and knew, of course he had to give a very sensible reply. He said, yeah, of course that was a romantic thing. I remember, and of course he said yes and we got married. No, they say, yeah lah, I remember. And did you marry me or not? Of course, otherwise you would not be the husband, isn't it? Right? The message is very, very important, right? It's just a silly joke, like you can see. But jokes convey very good messages. So when one is unmindful or not attentive, as the case you can see now, it's not mindful, you're not paying attention and thinking already, trying to do. Actually, you should pause for a while and listen, then after that continue your reading, right? But he was unmindful and not attentive. So you know what you can do? A person like this can act or speak in the most stupid way. Which means that you are not mindful, so you think of a wrong thing in order to solve a problem because somebody told you a problem, but you're not very attentive and you did not get the facts correctly, so you think stupidly or you make mistake. And then the worst thing also is you speak and act in foolish ways, right? You speak and act. Because like I've taught students who are like that, right? So they are not attentive when instructions are given, like in the lab, right? Or in class. And then when they carry out the experiments in the lab, they do stupid things because they are not attentive. I remember a case that was not in my class, another class, right? Of taking a very corrosive acid, the concentrated sulfuric acid, the method to take and so on. So one or two, I think 2 or 3 students were playing the pool, not attentive. So when the time came for them to take the acid, they took in a very dangerous way. They took one whole beaker of the acid, and then an accident happened. It was not in my class, it was another teacher's class. So, wow, the acid shot out, and then went onto their bodies and screaming, burning, Then I was head of the department in the chemistry section. So I was called there to investigate. So of course, quickly I had to decide what to do with them. And we had to send them to the hospital after giving the first aid and washing and all those stuff. So you see, this is a consequence of not being mindful, not being attentive, right? So acting in the wrong way, acting the wrong way. So in time to come, people will say, this fella, he's not attentive one, he's unmindful one, forgetful one. That is the type of English they use. He's forgetful one, and this is not good English. He's a forgetful person. He's very, very absent-minded. By the Malaysian, he's absent-minded one. He's forgetful one. That is not good English. Just telling you. It's not that I speak bad English, right? So be careful. Mindfulness, very, very important. And this you have to train from young. But sad to say, today many students, even at the young age, forget things, as I said just now, not mindful. When things are told to them, they are not attentive, and because of that, can you please show me your homework? Hey, sorry, teacher I forgot to bring right? I say, why are you not having this book? Right? Why is your name tag not put on? I ask Sunday school boys, why you don't have? 忘记了. So young, you are already forgetful. So that's not a good thing, isn't it? So next time you be forgetful and mindful, and imagine you're holding a job and you make so many mistakes because of your lack of mindfulness. So how can you get promotion? How can you be successful? So training from young is very important. So usually we send these boys to our counseling section, and then of course we eventually will replace, or some say that their name tags lost, but they did not report. That is also not correct. Right. So we come to the end slide, right? And that's a summary. Right? So actually, funny jokes can impart, can teach us a life lesson or two, which means can teach important life lessons. Life lessons are maybe things of moral values, ethical values, like Dhamma is, of course, a very important life lesson. So can teach Dhamma. This can help us to be more peaceful, right? And then more wise, more compassionate, then you will be more successful, right, and happy later on when you grow up. So you can use this humor. So good jokes are also edutain. And there's no such word edutain, so I put it within inverted commas. Which this means that it can educate us on certain things apart from improving English when you read these jokes, isn't it? And then if we can get entertained in a nice manner, but don't go and read all those dirty jokes. That's not good. But you can, for students, you can read very clean jokes and so on, and you can laugh, and laughter is very good for health. So you see, that's why it can edutain, and that is very true. Research has shown that humor, laughter is good for health. And now I'm trying to tell you that we can learn important life lessons from the jokes or from humor pieces. So there's a good way to motivate a person to read. Some like to read stories, but then some say, oh, you so thick, the book, the story cannot finish. Harry Potter, very thick book, cannot. So there's another way you can read jokes, isn't it? Joke books, or in the internet also you have clean jokes, and then you are improving your English and knowledge, and at the same time you also get entertained. And then if you are smart, you can think about the moral lessons. You can learn also as what I have done with you in this lesson, right? So to conclude, before we say sadhu, I would like to express my appreciation and thanks to all the students who are following this presentation, and then also the parents and grandparents, and also the teachers of Buddhist Sunday School and Dhamma classes who have taken time and have put in the effort to listen to this quite long presentation of jokes and life lessons from funny jokes. So sadhu to all of you. You can share with any person you feel may be interested, and they can benefit, I'm sure, from this, right? So let us conclude by saying sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Right? May all be well, healthy, and peaceful. Take care.